that I think what we should stand for as a party, quite frankly, is you, is the individuals. Not ideology, not WEF stuff, not, you know, but the actual people, the salt of the earth, the people that make this plant, that's made this great province. And the people that want to be in this great province for the future. That's who we need to be as a Conservative Party. A party that sort of transcends across the political boundaries, because people can see themselves as being part of who we are and what we want to build. If we can achieve that, if we can get a party like that, I believe in 2024 we're going to be competitive to win the election, not just win a few seats.
That's right.
Yes.
That is
Absolutely.
ultimately where we want to be if we want to be able to change things for the better in this province.
John, if you are doing that, then all that other stuff goes away anyway.
That's right.
Right.
You're absolutely
One
right.
thing I want to touch upon, how John said a coalition. One thing when I was running the riding here in South Surrey, running for Canada, one thing I realized, it's a very unique riding. You have your rural areas, you have a lot of elderly, you have a lot of young families, so you need an MLA that can connect with all of them. Where you go down, maybe in Surrey Newton, it might be a different type of MLA. That's what John's talking about. Like, I'll use it as analogies in hockey. You have a playmaker, right? You need a playmaker to play his role. You have a dangler, or you may have a big back-end shot. We need to actually get out there and create these ridings, connect with the people, and put their voice first. That's kind of like what John is talking about, building that real coalition. We don't want to shut down people, like right now, like with the BC Liberals. You have the rural saying something. They're not even being heard. They're just going by the majority of whatever it is. And that needs to change. We need to bring everyone in, all the ridings, get the endpoint, represent the ridings the way they deserve to be represented. Then the MLAs themselves can come together and come up with the policies and ways to go forward.
Well put.
So how do we achieve this? It's really simple. It's exactly what you're doing here tonight. Coming in, getting engaged, getting riding associations up and running. We're going to need to go around. We're going to need to be able to sign up members. I think we should have a target of 10,000 members at least by the end of summer. At least. That's a minimal target that I think we need to do. Because if we want to be competitive, that's the work we need to do. So it's just, you know, some people want paper membership books so we can go out and let's do things the old ways. If people want to use technology, we'll do it. So let's not have any barriers to people being able to sign up and to be part of our party and to join what we need to do. Riding associations, get them up and running, and as we get memberships in those ridings, and get people excited about wanting to run, we will start holding, well, hopefully, we'll be able to start holding nomination meetings, you know, in the, hopefully by the end of summer, and get ready. Now, there was a question about when the next election is. And, you know, David Eby could drop the writ at any time. That's true. But the one thing that has happened to me because of being an independent, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. And so they're looking at this as us taking away votes from the BC Liberals. So they're not eager to end that. They actually want to support us in doing it. That was weird. It's just kind of weird, but that's politics. But the purpose there in my thinking is, why would he want to call a snap election and potentially cut off our ability to be able to grow and be competitive? Now, what he doesn't see, and what I think, you know, quite frankly, as we get into the fall, as we get in towards the beginning of 2024, if we can get the momentum that I'm really hoping we're going to be able to build, then you'll start actually worrying about us. But by then, that's okay. In the meantime, though, you know, we got a lot of work to do to be able to get to that point. So, happy to take some questions. Yeah.
NDP have got a $1.5 billion surplus in their budget. So they're not going to call an election. They're going to go into the next election spending and delivering all these nice projects for us across the province. They've already started doing that.
Yep.
And that will take us into a favorable situation for them.
You know, it's funny you say that, but I actually think that you look at the last municipal election, there were left-leaning councils, city mayor and councils that were gone, there were right-leaning mayor and councils that were gone. And what did they both have in common? People wanted change.
Yeah.
People want to see something different happening. And I think, quite frankly, when you look at inflation, when you look at people struggling, you know, with affordability, when you look at the crime issues we have, and in particular with the healthcare issues, and I gotta get to Bill 36 here in a second, you know, people they're not happy with the status quo. We need to be able to present a reasonable, rational alternative that has answers in terms of what we can do. And that's, you know, why, it doesn't matter, NDP can spend all they want, they spent tons of money at the end of the 1990s too. Doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, of course, people are always happy to get bribed with real money, but at the end of the day, you know, we have to be able to present a good, viable option.
My view is if this party is going to be successful in the province, and I use these examples, I'm sorry if people don't like any of them, but Jason Kenney, Danielle Smith, Ron DeSantis for Florida, these people are willing to speak out for the things that stand up. We need to put ourselves forward. The next Premier of BC that will be our Danielle Smith or our Jason Kenney or our Ron DeSantis. We've got to have the policy and the educational, two parts to policy. One is policy that makes a difference, that when we speak it, people care and they listen because it's different and it's leading. The other thing is education, because there's a whole, you know, the turnout we get for our provincial elections is just abysmal. It really is. And you've got to do education so that people understand what's wrong with your NDP government. You don't know what's happening in education, K-12, in universities. We've got to bring the facts out and be the educational group that informs people of how bad it really is. And then we've got our leading policies that say this is what we're going to do to fix that problem.
So
that is the most impactful.
There's all kinds of ways, you know, to do campaigning. I've been around, you know, politics a long time in terms of it, and so you're right. But what's going to be needed on it is a strategy around this. And so, for example, since I've had the honor now of being part of the party, what have we taken on for issues just in the last week? We took on Bill 36. We've now been working with the allied health workers around the province. I've been working with the freedom movement around the province, collecting signatures against Bill 36. We're now closing in on 15,000 signatures to put an end to that bill. We're going to carry that forward to the end of March, and then we'll present it, and we're hoping to be able to get 20,000 plus if we can for people that are signing up on that petition. So, and against Bill 36, the big key there is...
How bad is Bill 36? A lot of us don't even know what it is.
So, Bill 36 does a number of things. It takes all of the healthcare boards, so each of the professions in healthcare has their own college. So that's whether it is the doctors or the nurses or the chiropractors or, you know, the dentists, whatever it may be. It takes all of those boards, 12, 14, whatever the number is, I can't even remember, and it combines them together into just 6. And instead of the professions electing people to govern, it becomes appointed by government. Bill 36, there's one clause in Bill 36 that actually allows government to bypass any of the other codes or stuff and actually appoint people to do things, even if they don't even have the professional capability of doing it. It's crazy in terms of what it does. So there's other components in it as well. You know, for example, if a doctor dares to speak out against or provide an opinion that is contrary to the mandate that the government has put in place, up to $200,000 fine and 6 months in jail. So there's a whole bunch of things, and the other piece in there as well is mandatory vaccinations. For anybody working in one of those things, if government sets a mandate, the boards must put in the same mandate for mandatory vaccinations across the health sector. And so
They try to get everybody vaxxed in that thing?
yeah, that's the goal. And so I got to tell you, I mean, we have a crisis in our healthcare system today. We have a crisis in our healthcare system. Nobody can deny that, right? There's 1 million people without doctors. You know, just last year in Canada, 13,200 or 13,300 people died while waiting for diagnostic services or surgery. I mean, that alone should raise huge alarm bells, and it isn't even go reported. Nobody even talks about it. It's crazy what's going on in our healthcare system. We need every single person we can in the profession to be working. One doctor can make a huge difference, especially in a small community, in a rural community. Nurses, the extra nurses can take some of the pressure off. Like 2,600 health professionals were fired because of mandates. And according to the Allied Health Workers, there was another 4,400, 4,500 that they think have quit, retired or otherwise, have moved on because of the mandates that were in place. These are professionals, quite frankly, we have to have in the system. And yes, security measures, testing, whatever we need to do, right? Safety measures, I should say, that's great. But let's get them in the system and try to actually improve what we're doing. Plus, and I'll just say, so that's one of the first things we fought. The other thing I'll say about it too is, it's time we have actually an honest conversation about healthcare in this province. I mean, seriously, we talk about BC being one of the best in Canada, right, in terms of delivery and all that kind of stuff, and that's probably true. But let's look at Canada compared to Europe. We're at the bottom of the list. And we're the second most expensive per capita healthcare system in the world. Next to the United States. Like, something's not right. We're spending a ton of money, way more than other jurisdictions, and we are not providing the services that they can. What are we doing? Why are we not having an open conversation about how to improve our system? To look at, making sure that people are at the center of our healthcare system. In the court case this summer on healthcare, I'll take some questions in a second. The court case this summer on healthcare, Brian Day, the private healthcare case went forward. The government actually made the argument that the system was more important than patients suffering. And the judge agreed with them. Disgusting, sorry. I just, patients have to be what the whole thing is about. It's nuts for it not to be that way. So that was the first thing that we championed in the first week. The second thing we championed, I don't know if anybody's seen the book or read the book Cobalt Red. And it's what's going on in the Congo right now in the extraction of cobalt is, quite frankly, is disgusting. Children, it's basically slave labor of children. Children working for $1 a day. They're covered in caked in toxic materials. Moms have, their babies out there trying to grab a few, stones and they're digging with their hands. And in many cases, this is just to get cobalt into the system. Now, most of the cobalt that's mined in the world is not mined that way. But the point is, in our system, in the system for these batteries, these lithium-based batteries, you have to have cobalt in there. And according to Elon Musk, and I agree with him, there is no way to distinguish between cobalt that has come through the abuse of children versus cobalt that's come through mining. And whatever people decide to do on their own, that's their choice. I don't think government should be telling people what they should and shouldn't do. That's their own conscience, their own choice to do. But I can tell you this, I do not believe we as a government, we as a province, should be taking our tax dollars and subsidizing electric vehicles and e-bikes that use this material. Why would we be supporting a product that is abusing children? That's just, it's nuts. We shouldn't do that. We should need to bring that to an end. And that's not even to talk about lithium and what's going on in China and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But so those are two issues in the first week that, as conservatives, now we're championing. And it's all about getting people to care about issues that we think are important, that need to be fought, to show who we are. We're focused on the people in the province, we're focused on compassion, we're focused on where we need to be and where this province needs to be. So, other hands.
Can I just bring in Cloverdale and also Wally into the room?
Oh yeah, I've gone on too long, sorry.
No.
Oh, please
We
continue.
want you to
Okay.
we'll just pull one group, two groups to a side, then, this is your time to get to know John and what he stands for.
Hey John, what do you think about lawyers? I'll come back to you in a second.
Yeah, Sean, socialism never works. It always gets worse. Comment.
Oh, well, the one I love is the cartoon of, a little cartoon character in a hellish setting, fire all around, and this isn't true socialism, right? Sorry, socialism never worked. Has never worked anywhere, will never work anywhere. But the problem is, it's a beautiful siren song. It's pouring honey in people's ears about this utopian state that just doesn't work. I mean, look, we need to make sure that we've got social safety net to be able to support people that need to be supported. But if we cannot have a free society, what are we doing?
Yes.
Right? Like, I'm sorry, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Hold on. You asked me about lawyers.
More judges too. What do you think? It seems like, it always,
Look,
they seem to all like.
Some
go
of
for
my best
Trudeau.
friends, some of my best friends are lawyers, so I'm not gonna slag lawyers.
What about?
And actually, I've got some good friends that are judges too. The problem is not the lawyers and the judges. It really isn't. The problem is a system that is built up over decades, many, many decades, that just doesn't work. And, you know, whether it's crime on the streets and, you know, this catch and release stuff that's going on, you know, whether it's just, case law is built up to the point where it is so challenging to be able to get anything done from a legal perspective. And I'm, quite frankly, I'm at a bit of a loss as to how to really solve it, because most of that's federal, to be able to really change it. But I'll tell you this, and, well, maybe I won't, because this is being videoed and it's going out, and I want to save that for hopefully an election campaign. But I have some ideas in terms of what we need to do to be able to take back our streets and try to make things safe again for people. Because it is unacceptable to me that you can't walk down the street without, you know, worrying about whether or not you're going to get mugged. You can't walk down the street and without seeing, you know, the open drug scene. Like, I'm sorry. That's not the place where our streets should be happening. Our streets should be able to be safer than that. Europe has figured out how to do this. We should be looking at similar models.
I don't think a lot of people are aware of the effect of the schools of medicine and what an impact they're having on our healthcare, and how much they've taken over UBC, the Bloomberg School in Toronto, the Dalawana School. All these ones are having a tremendous effect on how we dispense medicine, and no one's saying anything about that. They don't seem to even understand the effect of it.
Yeah.
It's being taken away from the government.
You know, I don't know enough about that to really give any intelligent comment with regards to the role of that. But I think, you know, in general terms, we used to be in a place in small communities where you could deliver babies. We've now gotten to this place because of litigation and risk and this kind of stuff, where you have to go down the road to a larger center. And so we're trying to eliminate risks, but at the same time, once again, what is it that we should be focused on, right? Which is serving the patient to the best of our ability. And so there's lots of changes that need to happen, you know, scope of practice and other things that need to be thought about in terms of a shift in healthcare. But you know, that's a very complex. You start pulling on a few strings, and it creates some real problems.
Yeah.
I just want to pause this, sorry.
Okay.
I got assaulted at the corner of 16th and 152nd on the eve of the last election. I was out politicking and holding a sign for a colleague that asked for my help. It was recorded on the camera at 16th and 152nd. There were many witnesses. The guy then, after he hit me in the sternum and broke the sign that I was holding in half, and then sliced me across my throat, and started walking briskly up 152nd. I was calling 911. Then he hit a car 3 times. The guy came out. He grabbed that guy around the neck. He was arrested by the time we got to that chimichanga place on 152nd. The police were there. They arrested him and charged him with assault. I got the big envelope in the mail a couple months later because I said that I wanted to charge him. And I was allowed to go to court and read my victim's statement. And I fully expected something to happen because it's against my rights as a Canadian when I'm out politicking to be treated in that manner. I was also, just as something that I want to say, I was also really embarrassed because I have run as a member of parliament in the past in 2019. And I thought, oh, who's looking at me? Who's seen me on the buses and the traffic? And this is my neighborhood. And who thinks that I'm just some woman fighting with some guy in the street like a, I don't know what, I don't know. The prosecuting lawyer called me from Surrey And she told me that nothing would happen to this guy. And I said, why? She said, because I decide who's going to go through. And in fact, she said, I wouldn't even accepted this case, but the other lawyer that works in the office thought that we should accept it because it violated your rights as Canadian under the charter because it was during an election and you were politicking. And I said to her, that was a kind of blinding light that went through my head. And I said, well then, why do we have courts? To me, that was the day that I realized our courts don't run the laws. It's the frickin' prosecuting lawyers. I went to court. The prosecuting lawyer said I could read my statement. I put my hand up. I asked the judge if I could read it from up by the bench. I didn't want to read it from my little bench seat. She said yes. The guy from the criminal, or the, my statement, he was there. I had 3 pages. I'm well spoken. I was reading it well. The judge was looking at me and looking at the guy and looking at me and looking at the guy, who, by the way, works at Home Depot. So now I can't even go to Home Depot anymore in South Surrey. And he said to me after, did you see that judge? I've been in front of this judge a lot of times. I have never, she spoke for 45 minutes after. I've never heard her speak like that so passionately and such defense of you. And look at you with such interest in what you were saying, my victim impact statement. But still, nothing. Nothing. And I just wanted to mention that, like we talk about the courts, but you can't just think about if it's the judge. I think that judge really wanted to make a difference, but she couldn't because it was not supported by the prosecuting lawyer. And I never knew that was a thing.
So there's been some
I just
changes.
wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you have. There's been some changes federally in terms of, what they try to do around this stuff. There's some issues provincially, but I just want to, I can't comment specifically about that.
No.
But I just want to say this. So, a 46-bed facility for youth corrections in this province, fully manned, fully operational, full budget, with 4 inmates. And how many of those people are, 30, 40, 60, 80 arrests and just let out as a youth, let alone once they get into the adult system? I mean, there's a problem. And nobody wants to say that, we should always be, putting people in jail. Jail's not a great place to be for anybody. It's certainly not, where a person needs to be for rehabilitation. But at the same time, they're there for a reason. And people have a right to feel safe in their community. Right?
The law is now exploited to protect the guilty and harm the innocent. Over the past couple of years, I've taken photographs of vaccine clinics inside grocery stores and various other things happening in various businesses. And when I would take these photographs, I would be told by security that by taking those photographs, I could be charged and prosecuted.
Yeah.
Like I saw somebody being attacked in a hospital by the security, and when I photographed it, they said if I posted it on social media, I would potentially go to jail.
Yeah, things have gone pretty backwards. So. Yeah.
I have one that concerns me and it's quite frustrating and disturbing, I thought, which might be potentially, a subject that could work in your favor greatly. What this gentleman was saying over here about K through 12, what you were talking about before, which is socialism. I think you know where I'm going with this, but right now what we're up against is we've got the demographic of 25 to 40 provincially and across the country. I think that way, and it's been taught to them, okay? And there's this, call it curriculum, if you will, here in the province called SOGI 123. I'm sure you're aware of it.
Yep.
It's insidious. This has to be stopped, okay? And I think that if we take that sensitive approach, right, it's not going to work for us. I think we have to be brave enough to come out and talk about this, not be scared, meet them on their own 10-yard line, and enough is enough, and make parents aware. Because I can tell you, every parent I've talked to that doesn't know about this was shocked. People didn't believe it at first, but they're waking up now, right? And that's just talking to people I know. And I've got some ideas to spread the word, that's another subject, but I think if you were to, if we could come out with, some sort of direct action plan to educate people about what's going on and what this is all about, that's a huge amount of people that would potentially be, you know, supporters of the party. Matter of fact, I would think they would be. I'd bet on it. Period.
So the place to start is with an FOI or another, it might not need an FOI request, but ask if the school district, ask the board to supply to you the resources that they use for diversity.
Good luck with that.
Let me,
Good luck
let me
with
give
that.
you,
Trust me. What you have to do,
They're not top secret, there's a lot.
Yes, yes.
well, their policy, but
Can I address this, because we were the ones that exposed in 2017,
Yes.
the whole SOGI
thank
agenda.
you for that.
Yes.
Christy Clark got $250,000 from the ARC Foundation to
Mhm.
put this into the schools, basically paid, that's what it costs to get access to all of the children in BC. But I think all the issues you're talking about here today, politics has changed, you guys. This is no longer political right or left anymore. This, you know, we just exposed this week Bill C-27 from the federal government, the whole digital charter paving the way for artificial intelligence, digital currency, digital ID. The issues here are almost trivial compared to what's happening at a higher level. And I think even going back to this woman's comments about Crown not doing the charging, you know, the police used to approve the charges, not the Crown. Now it's been politicized. Things have to change, and you know, if we want to really do this, we have to have leadership on all of these fronts. We have to blaze the trail, educate people on exactly what's happening, and be the savior, in this case, for this province. I toured with the Doctors on Tour, so Doctors Hoff and Malthouse, through 3 provinces for different campaigns. There is a disruption in the political world that gives opportunity for change right now, but it has to be grasped and it has to be acted upon, and we need strong leadership and strong voices that see beyond the typical political way of doing things, shifts it up, and truly becomes a leader across this nation.
The media is the problem.
The media, we are the problem. We are the problem.
But if we
Yeah.
knock on someone's door and tell them, they'll listen.
More than knock on the door, you've got to educate them.
Right.
You're bang on.
And,
Yeah.
and how about
Yeah.
some good, PowerPoint flyers, just deliver them, people pick them up.
Good old
look at
town
it,
hall
say, what?
meetings, so I'll just
Works.
give some hope, okay? Because in 2001, we went on a bunch of town hall meetings when the NDP was going bonkers. Politically, not as sophisticated as what we need to be nowadays. But in that election, we had over 70% turnout. They labeled me the most dangerous woman in the province for all the right reasons on cover of BC Report magazine.
Good for you.
And we obliterated the NDP. They went from a majority government to only 2 seats in the House. They actually had to get approval to have political status, party status, because you needed 3 people back then. So I think we should do the same thing for John and get the BC Conservatives, or the Conservative Party of BC, political status with just our one very brave leader. But it can be done. But it took the grapevine. We never paid 1 penny in advertising. We just went around to community after community
Have you had
and
enough?
held town hall meetings.
Have you had enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And even with the Doctors on Tour, even when we were in lockdown, we had 400, 800, 900 people coming out, defying all the orders because they wanted some answers and they wanted to have the province restored.
John, I think there is a law that states in
Yeah, oh yeah,
BC
yeah.
that
That was
parents
fun.
are ultimately responsible for what gets taught to their kids.
so,
No.
so, education and, you know, to this, I mean, look,
She's a leader.
there's lots of people who got lots of concerns about education, including myself.
I mean, what if we all stop paying our school taxes?
Well, you know, when I think about our education system, we've really lost the way. Like, education it should be focused on teaching kids, you know, how to
Reading,
function,
writing,
you know, reading,
arithmetic.
writing, arithmetic. I mean, it's
And
more than
manners.
that. Well, exactly, how to think. And education has shifted to having so many other values. And you look at it, when you start looking at the wide range, how do they cover off what needs to be covered off for kids to be able to function in society today? And so I actually think, you know, the education system you need to have a complete look at the curriculum. I mean, I'll just give you one example.
I think it can be a big ticket item
Yeah,
for you.
I'll give you one example. There's a book that a parent came and asked me about. It was a grade 4 math book. And it was called Math That Matters. Math That Matters. So the math in there was correct. You know, 2 + 2 = 4. But the language they would use in there was all about indoctrination.
Right.
Exactly.
Right, in terms of
Yeah.
what was put in the math, what was put in the examples. And so that's what needs to actually be taken out of the education system. We should teach kids, you know, how to think, not what to think, right? It shouldn't be about indoctrination. Anyway, there's lots of work that needs to be done there in terms of our education system, and I think, you know, there's only one way that's gonna get changed. And that's we need a form of government.
Just before the next question, sorry to
Yeah, no,
interrupt.
go ahead.
Can I ask anyone that lives in Surrey, Guildford, or Surrey Green Timbers, so the 2 G ridings, Green Timbers and Guildford, if you could please join us in the boardroom back there. Thank you.
John? Yeah. So much. Hey guys, this is actually important.
Oh. It's just, turns my stomach. Part of the solution. I know that. I am the solution.
This is important. Guys, this is important. My actually, don't take me.
Okay.
Don't